So welcome to the last Code Untapped Tech Talk podcast of the year. So you got me, Ez, and over on the other side we got Jay. How's it going, mate?
I'm good, Ez. I'm good. It's the end of the year.
Up for Christmas now.
Yeah, it's the end of the year. It's been a hard one, Ez.
Well, mate, it's been a crazy one for you because you've done a lot this year. Because you were in this time last year, you were at HSBC as a highly paid contractor. Mm-hmm. And now you're a very poorly paid founder, right?
I'm not paid at all.
Not paid. Not making any money as a founder for the last 12 months. How's it been?
It's been good, actually. It's been a journey. It's beat me up a bit, but it's been really, really good. What can I say? I've learned an awful lot, yeah. And right. To be honest, I thought starting this, I've done my homework, I'm prepared, I know exactly what needs to be done and blah, blah, blah. But I've had to learn. It's been a journey where I've just learned so much. And some of the stuff I just wasn't prepared for. So it's good. But you just have to go through those stages. And it made me realize that one thing, you can't do it all, yeah. And you need a good team around you as well, yeah, just to, yeah. Mm.
Well, what was it I said to you the other day? Everyone plays at founder for the first 6 months or so until get real, right? And so you realise what it means to be a founder and to build a startup.
I think for the first couple of months, definitely, I was playing at being a founder until the money started to get a bit short, and then I was like, right. Gonna have to make some hard decisions here, man. Gonna have to make some hard calls here. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good, definitely. So no, I mean from because the decisions that you make, as you know, it's all, some of those decisions are all about like, right, actually, what is the most important thing to do at this point in time, based on the capacity that you have, yeah, and based on what your near-term goals are, yeah. So, and you really do focus down, and you really do all these words that I used to use and didn't really care what they meant because it money wasn't coming out of my pockets. I didn't really, all things like triaging, I really understand what that means now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I really understand about just trimming it down. What is MVP? That getting right. We're not building that. This is what we're building because this is what we can do within the time frame that we've got. Yeah.
But you know what's good about that? Because you spent the last 12 months building off the back of your own back and learning that prioritization importance, right? When you do raise money and you're spending other people's cash, investors' money, you'll have that sense of care, prioritization, that duty of responsibility to that money. So many founders never really learn that, and then they go and raise the money and they just spend it, and they spend it on stupid things, like luxury apartments in San Francisco because they've got to do some trips to Silicon Valley apparently, and then chuck a ton of money into marketing when they don't actually have a product, and then they hire all these people and all these consultants, and they spend 50 grand getting a website built. Before they know it, they've got no money left, and they haven't, right? All they've got is a website.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, as you know, we're the complete opposite. Yeah, so we had nobody, and we were looking to get rid of people. Do you know? We were like, do you know? It's like, who's not pulling their weight? Who's not with? There's no one. But it really does. It's really important, actually, to then, because you realize, well, what do you need? You start really joining the dots, yeah, and joining the dots in terms of, right, I need to get to this step, yeah, or I might need to get to closed beta. Now, what activities do I need to do to get to closed beta, yeah? And those are the activities that I prioritize. And it's interesting because, like, I use the word capacity, and I use that word a lot, and people think, oh, capacity is just money. Capacity isn't just money. actually, as a CEO, capacity is how do I spend the resources of your how do you effectively spend the resources of your organization, yeah, to get the outcome that you want, yeah. And that capacity encompasses your colleagues, their time, what they should be focused on, the money that you have in your pocket to pay for stuff. Even if you're getting outside services, even if you're using outside vendors, you've got to be really clear and focus on what the outcome is that they need to deliver for you in order for you to move forward. You just have to be. It's funny because when I used to work at Goldman Sachs, and at the time when I used to work at Goldman's, they didn't have a retail bank at all. Yeah, so it was just pure investment banking. Yeah, and this was around 2006 time. Yeah, and
they set up the retail bank in response to the credit crunch crisis because it was the only way they could qualify for government support.
Exactly. So they were like a pure investment bank. And one of the things that separated at the time Goldman's out, apart from its like competitors, was how efficient it was in the use of its capital. Yeah, and it would understand. I remember I used to work in the repo department, and repo department is all about making use of or lending out collateral that you have. Yeah, so it's a cheap way of borrowing money. Yeah, and Goldman's had they had a complete understanding globally of where their capital was in every single custodian, in every single in all of their custodians globally, they had a full picture of where all of their collateral was and where it should be in order to maximize the money that they could obtain from that collateral. Yeah, and it was just but they needed to do that because they weren't sloshing around in cash like a lot of the other banks. Yeah, and it's the same sort of principle that I've had to adopt in this, because I didn't have that VC, I didn't have that angel investment. This was my money that I was spending, and I had to basically make effective use of that money and effective use of my resources in order to get the outcome I wanted. Yeah, so it was really clinical. But I mean, as you know, is where we were at the beginning of the year, this time last year, there was no product. Where was the prototype? Yeah, but that wasn't a commercial product. It's not something that I would feel comfortable putting out. From a stability perspective, from a user perspective, from a UX perspective as well. It wasn't where it was just to test the proposal, test what that does the idea work? Would these set of features and functionality put together, would it bring value to our target customers? Yeah, but this product has the stability, it has the scalability. So that's the back end. On the front end, it has the UX, it has, and so what I wanted to ensure is that the capacity that I had could get me to the point at which I could launch the product into beta, it was ready for consumers. It was a commercially ready product, and I think we're there. I think we're there. Yeah.
Well, talking about challenges and the rest, I think today we're talking about trademarking and the rest of it, right? I know that's been a recent challenge for both Some Group and Code Untapped. Actually, we'll touch on that, not in any detail, but Code Untapped had its own trademarking issues it's having to deal with right now in terms of infringement on its trademark. But we had a poll on our LinkedIn saying, do you believe that branding is important to the success of your startup? And 75% of people said yes. Now, you've been through branding exercises, you've been through trademarking, and you've had some challenges with that experience. Talk to me a little bit about the process and what's led to some of the challenges, and then let's touch on how you've resolved those.
Yeah, it's interesting because, to be honest, when I originally created Some Group as a legal entity, this was back in, I think it was 2008, 2018, I believe. Yeah, in like June
Yeah.
2018. Yeah, and at the time, I didn't know anything about trademarking. So, you know, I thought, right, this is a good company name. It actually fits well with the product that I was building at the time. Yeah. And so, okay, that's cool. Yeah. And it was only like halfway through this year when I realized, right, actually, I'm going to build a commercial product. I'm building a commercial product. I'm going to be marketing this product. There's going to be, you know, a full-blown website with the details of what the features I offer. You know, we're going to sell this, yeah, and people will, you know, pay money for this, hopefully, yeah. So, right, so what do we need to do? Well, we need to trademark that brand, yeah. So, and at that time, we were very clear. We'd gone far enough down the road in terms of we knew exactly what we were building, yeah, and we knew what our target audience were. And we had done our persona analysis. We really honed down on what we were building, what service we were providing, and who we were targeting in our initial, you know, in our initial launch of the product. Yeah. And so in terms of branding, those things were honed down, and we had this name, and it was a bit of a legacy name, but we did build the brand around the name. Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the things that we wanted to do, because we didn't want any hiccups after we'd launched the product and have to then change stuff. So we said, right, actually, let's make sure that we trademark this. So back in June, I think I started the trademark process, and I applied to register the name Some Group, which was the same name as the original company that we incorporated back in June 2018. So that process, that trademark process, is a long process. And the first step is that the IPO office, yeah, who handles trademarking, they put your intended trademark on the register, and they notify other interested parties who have registered trademarks that are similar to yours. Yeah. And they do that so that those parties can just double check that you're not infringing on their trademark. Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that I wasn't really aware of. I just thought, well, I've got a company, it's called this, well, and I just want to trademark this product.
Even by trademarking it, you probably took it a step further than most startups do, right? Because most startups don't even think about, oh, I need to trademark my brand.
Exactly. And I went through, as you know, I went through all of the trademark classes, and I highlighted all of the things that, and it's not just, when you do the trademark exercise as well, it's not just saying, right, what does my product do now? That's not what you do. You say, what does my product do now? But what will it be? Yeah. What will it be in 5? Because what you don't want to do is put boundaries on what the scope of that product under that brand can do. Yeah.
So you have to select the appropriate class, but if the class you select increases the cost of the trademarking activity,
exactly.
And it increases the risk that you're going to fall foul of someone.
Yes, exactly. So I put I put in all the classes, and for me, and what we're building, it was about 5 classes. So, you know, so it was an additional, every class above 1 is an additional cost. So I put in those, and we started the trademark application.
And to be clear for people who aren't aware, those classes are really categories. So like education might be one, or educate, or consultancy might be another.
Yeah.
And social media. I can't remember what the ones were.
There's quite a few. There's like I think there's like maybe 40 or no more than that. I think there might be 50 classes or something like that. So
there's a lot of classes.
There's a lot of classes, and within those classes, there are subdivisions or subsections as well. So it's quite detailed in what you can pick. So you might pick a class, and then you might pick a particular category of that class as well. Yeah. So you have to go through that process, and some people, some organizations, especially if they're well funded, you can get a trademark lawyer to help you with that process. But obviously this is another thing, trying
expenditure.
Trying to be as efficient as possible.
And do you trademark just the name, or do you trademark the logo? Do you trademark
exactly
colors that you have?
So you can trademark the name, you can trademark the logo, you can even trademark sounds now as well. Yeah. So you've got all of that stuff, plus you've got the classes as well, the classification. So we put in that trademark, and we put it in June, and you don't hear back for, I think, 2 months. Yeah.
I think it's
And
a bit
that
longer
sits
than
on,
that, but yeah, it's
yeah,
about
maybe
6
like
months.
3 months, and it sits on the register. And then I believe I think it might be 3 months actually. And then after 3 months, if nobody objects to your trademark or opposes your trademark, then I think then they give it another two weeks or so, and then they grant you your trademark. But in my instance, I had 3 oppositions. Yeah, 3 oppositions.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because
don't name the companies.
I won't name the companies. I got a letter from quite an official solicitors firm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my and my partner, she goes to me, that that firm is a serious firm. You need to open that.
Like, these boys are serious.
Serious
Don't
firm.
mess
You need
around
to
here.
open that letter and read what that letter says. So I opened that letter, and it was like, right, you know, your registration is infringing on our trademark. Can you please amend your trademark as? And it's interesting because 2 of the oppositions, they weren't really in, even though our names were similar, the sectors that those organizations were operating in were fundamentally different from the sector that some group was operating in. So they didn't have an issue as long as our trademark didn't infringe on their sector. Yeah, so they made me amend my trademark and put specific clauses in to restrict the function of my trademark, so that it was restricted to effectively what we're doing now. Yeah. And I had no qualms about doing that because it was a cost-effective way of resolving the issue that we had. So 2 of the organizations, we were able to come to an agreement. I was able to restrict my trademark down to the areas which I was primarily focusing on anyway, so it was not an issue. Yeah. And in the other company, they actually were a very, very small company. I won't say who the name is. They're a very, very small company. They're not a UK company, actually. So that's interesting as well, because it shows that any organization, any entity globally can register a UK trademark. Yeah. And even if they don't have an active presence in the UK, yeah, they can still have a trademark, because the trademark is an intention, yeah, to build a product or service in that market. Yeah. And they are securing that in,
and the whole purpose of a trademark, right, is to create clarity around your product when selling to customers.
Exactly.
And that's what it all comes down to.
Exactly.
Is a customer going to confuse my product for yours?
Exactly.
That's literally what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. And hence, so there was no back and forth with this organization. They were just like, well, you know, you're infringing on our trademarks, and you need to stop.
That's it.
It was that. And it was interesting because that was the correspondence, and I thought, well, you know, there are another, you know, it sort of died down, the correspondence, and I didn't hear anything, and I thought, I just assumed maybe then, they've sort of, because we did some investigation, and we looked at their organization, and we looked at what they were doing, and it didn't seem that they were really focused on, you know, the same, delivering a product or a service in the same space at that time. Yeah. So we didn't do anything. We just left our mark there. They didn't give us any indication that we should amend it in any way. And then, this was a month. So this was the review period. The extended review period ended in the 15th of November. I think it was the 13th of November, actually. But the 13th of November was on a Friday. So there's some really quirky rules about the end period of a review. If the end period of the review ends on a Friday, then they've got 24 hours. So they've got effectively the Monday to put in an objection. So I checked the trademark office on the Friday, and they go, no one's put an objection. I even phoned them up. They goes, and it's closed now. So then I even checked on a Monday, has anybody put an objection in? We can't see any objections on the system, Mr. Halstead. So it's all looking good. So I was sort of celebrating with the guys. Yeah, I think we've got our trademark. We can go. We're gonna be good. And then the trademark office, they've been inundated because a lot of people are opening companies now, especially in the pandemic, yeah. And there's a lot of innovative services coming out and stuff like that, and people are just, you know, trademarking everything and anything. So they've been overwhelmed with trademarks, so they were running a couple of weeks behind. So about 2 weeks ago, in fact, the day after our Christmas party, the Some Group Christmas party is, I got an email from the IPO office saying that that same organization had put an official opposition against my trademark on the very last day of the review period.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just like my heart sank. Yeah, it was just like all I could think of was all that work, all that branding. We're literally about to launch beta, turn on the new website, and that is just put a pause on everything. We just have to now think of a new name. We're gonna have to think of a new branding.
So let's touch on that, because we're almost out of time. But I guess that's the most important next piece, which is you've got this bad news. You're no longer allowed to use the Some Group trademark, right? What did you do next?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I immediately called the IPO office, yeah, and found out what was the next steps. And I think, and that gave me clarity, because it basically, and they immediately told me, right, so what you can do is you can dispute their opposition, yeah. But obviously now you then have to, you know, engage the services of a trademark lawyer to do that, yeah. And you can, and then it can go to a dispute process, but that takes time and extended time, yeah, as well, yeah. Or you could withdraw the trademark, yeah. So that was the first thing I did, and I had been in discussions with a trademark lawyer with the previous companies that I was resolving the trademark issues with. So I contacted that particular lawyer, and I asked him to just have a look at, because at that I managed to reach out also to that company, and they'd actually got a UK representative, a trademark lawyer in the UK, to actually spell out their whole opposition. So I had the letter there from them as well. So I got my trademark lawyer to have a look at it and to tell me if it was worth challenging. Yeah.
Put it this way, people spent money to stop you from registering the name Some Group.
Yeah.
Right.
That says it all. That says it all. And the lawyers that they were using as well were some heavyweights, yeah, which meant that I would also need heavyweights, yeah, to actually try and to actually resolve this matter with them. Yeah, you know, you need to fight at the same level. Yeah, and that particular lawyer that I was dealing with, he looked at what they said, and he looked at their case, and he looked at what we were both doing, yeah, in the space, and he goes that it's touch and go, yeah, and he goes, it might be better off you spend your time and your resources and he said it, you might be better. He didn't use the word time and resources, he used the word money. He just said it blatantly. You might be better off spending your money, yeah, on just rebranding and finding something uniquely in that space that you're not going to get no contention. Because even if we did come to a resolution with that, but even if we did go into mediation and we could resolve, the end game would have been that Some Group as a business, as a function, would have been restricted. Yeah. And potentially we might have to actually give revenue as well, yeah, to use that, you know, to use that name. And was that name good enough that it was worth us restricting our business and also giving revenue over for it? And after having a long conversation, obviously, with my advisor, US, you know, we realized that it definitely wasn't. The name wasn't that strong that we needed to do that. Yeah. And, you know, and it got our creative juices flowing again. But once we'd made that decision, it was very quick. And that's the thing I think that you have to do in the startup game, is once you make a decision, you need to act on it immediately. Yeah, you cannot delay, you cannot sit on it. And I think by the end of, I mean, we had a lot of stuff going on. Like, it was actually last week when all this kicked off, as you know. And we were actually in the middle of a PCI compliance, a penetration test, and we were rolling out a new payment option as well for our business onboarding our users. So all of that was going on, and the staff, my fellow co-founders, they were wrapping up for Christmas as well. So we had all this to do, but we needed to get a name as well, because it was important, because we needed to get the ball rolling on any new trademark application and start, you know, making sure that we could secure the domain and doing all of those other things as well that we needed to do to rebrand. Yeah.
So I guess it raises a really interesting question, right? Because if you can just change the name, you know, you put a name forward, you put your heart and soul into it, you create a brand around it, you register the name, someone's complained about it, you withdrawn the name, and you've had to go and find a new name, create a new brand, etc., etc. How important is the brand, really, right? Now, I have my thoughts on that, because I think the brand and the name are two different things. They're connected, right? But they're different. The name is what everyone knows you by. The brand is around the ethos of the business. So the brand hasn't changed, your name has, right?
Exactly. So you are 100% right. And I've sort of been using the word brand and the word name synonymously, and they're two separate things. Yeah. And so when I'm talking about rebrand, I'm not really rebranding, I'm renaming. Yeah. Because the brand and what we stand for, our ethos, how we want to operate, the things that, you know, the services that we provide and how we deliver those services, that's all wrapped up in the brand. Yeah. The ethos of the company, that will not change. Yeah. It's just that name that people associate with the brand. So that's the thing. That's the thing that's going to change. So that's the thing that we worked on. And it is a difficult exercise, but it's less of a difficult exercise because we already have the brand. So the exercise really, so there's, naming is a very interesting, it's almost like an art. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a science. It's an art, but there are different ways of looking at how you name things. So I'm going to just quickly touch on this, because I think it's important for anybody going through this exercise now, that you look at. So there's three main sort of areas. There's a descriptive name. So what does your product or service do? And can you find a name that actually describes that product or service? So that's one thing. Then, and you get, so in the space that I am, companies like Invoice to Go, they generate invoices. It does what it says on the tin, Invoice to Go. Then there's the other area, which is what we call evocative. So this is something that, you know, you associate, or you choose a name which brings forth the emotion that you want your customers to feel when they use your product. So a good example of that would be a company like Marshmallow. And marshmallows are soft, sweet things, that you put in hot chocolate, and they make you feel good, And you have them when it's cold and when it's winter and it's horrible outside, And so that would be a great name for something like an insurance company,
No, it's true. You associate the warm feeling with a brand that you don't normally associate warm feelings with.
Exactly, because insurance companies, they are there to protect you when everything is gone bad.
And that's the way they look at it.
They're there to protect you when everything has gone bad and it's not really your fault, and they're there to, like, as a big brother, put your hand around you and make you feel good and make everything all better. So something like Marshmallow, that all of that is in the name. So that's why it's a really good name for those types of organizations. And then you've got, so there's a descriptive, evocative, and then the last one is abstract. So the last one is abstract, where it's just it could be either a word that is just not associated with what you're doing at all, but it has it's just a strong word, There's some words just feels interesting. And a good example of something like that may be like Google, because Google is just a large number, it's just a large number, and what they've done is, the actual spelling of Google is not the spelling of the mathematical word Google. It's actually a different spelling. They don't.
I think it's a Googleplex anyway.
And it's a Googleplex. That's correct. A very, very large number. So, so there's these sorts of words, and you've got companies like even like Revolut or Monzo and stuff like that. Monzo isn't a word. It's a word. word. Yeah. And so there's those sorts. So those are the sort of areas you look at. But really, what you're looking for is that word associating, having a strong connection with the brand.
Well, there, what you're looking to do is build a powerful brand around the word, as opposed to use the word to associate the brand. Right?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah. So that's the exercise that we had to do very, very quickly. But we did it. Yeah, we did it.
Well, we're running out of time, but I think what was really interesting about that activity was how quickly you did it the second time around. And I think there were two things there, right? One was you needed a solution, right? You needed a new name because rolling out, releasing, blah, blah, blah. So the new name just had to happen. Couldn't equivocate. Second was the fact that you'd had to abandon your first name that you'd been attached to for so long suddenly freed you to go, actually, the name's not that important.
No, it's
the brand behind it that matters, right?
Yeah.
And the brand hasn't changed. So that was fascinating. But look, it's been a really interesting talk, and there's so much more.
Just before we go, right, and this is, I think, this is just the last takeaway.
Quickly, last thing.
Very quick. It's that same mindset of not holding on to the name is the same mindset that as an entrepreneur you need to have, not holding on to your initial concept. Yeah, because your initial concept, as you get feedback from customers, might change. Yeah, and it should change, and it should grow. Yeah, and you shouldn't be beholden to the original concept or anything like that. You should say, right, actually, this is the thing that people want. Yeah, this is what they're telling me. As James Brown said, give the people what they want. Yeah, so that's what you've got to do. Yeah. Anyway, I'm done now. Go on, Ez.
That's some really good advice there. So look, thank you, everybody. Just so you know, we've got another poll running at the moment on our LinkedIn. And it's all about, do you know what roles are essential for your tech team? You know, it's a real difficult challenge for people, especially as they're starting to scale up. Who do you actually need on your team? And that expands beyond that as well to your large teams. So we'll start to think about startup team construction in future episodes. But I think that's it for us. It's been a crazy year. Done a whole bunch of different episodes of these podcasts now. It's the last one of the year before Christmas. So from me, it's a Merry Christmas to everybody. To Jay, any last words from you?
Merry Christmas. I usually say carry on coding, but actually take some time out, chill, spend time with your loved ones.
Isn't that the advice I gave you?
And then once you've done that, carry on coding.
Get back to it.
I will see you.
All right. Brilliant. Take care, everybody, and stay safe.
Bye.